Hi and welcome to this week's OWA Live segment. Today we're going to try something a little bit different. We've got 4 questions we're going to try and cover. Nicole's segment on Medicare kind of spurred a flurry of additional questions, so we're going to see how many of these we can answer here. Question number 1. I'm going to be 65 in April of 2020 and eligible for Medicare. I've had a certain insurance company for the last 25 years and I've added my husband to the policy prior to retiring in 2017. Now, I'm not quite sure I'm inferring something here, but I would guess that you're probably on a retiree health plan that's offered through this specific health insurance. The question is, do I have to stay with this specific health company or do I have other options? The short answer of that is you do have other options. When you turn 65, you have what's called a special enrollment period, which will allow you to switch to any additional plan that you would like. You could look at the whole number of different plans based off of where you live. They're sanctioned by the county, so you want to make sure that you're sitting down with a Medicare specialist to figure out specifically which options make sense for you. Now, jumping back to another question here that I think will come from this, what about my husband? He's on my retiree health plan with that specific provider. What happens to him? If he is younger than 65, then he can either elect to go on to COBRA, which is going to be very expensive, or he should elect to choose some kind of individually apportioned plan. He needs to talk to a healthcare specialist to figure that out. He will not be allowed to stay on a retiree health plan if it's offered through your employer. You can switch if you'd like. That special enrollment period happens when you turn 65, you age into Medicare, you have a few different options. Now, if your husband is over the age of 65, at that point, he will also have to enroll on Medicare and find his own supplement or Medicare Advantage plan or something like that to cover the difference. Question number 2, do we have to stay with a certain company? Now, I'm not giving any companies away here. I don't want to do that here today. One of the more common programs in New Mexico, do we have to stay with this company to both remain covered? I'm guessing this is probably a similar question to the one asked previously, and the answer is no, not necessarily. You could have each individual plans if you'd like. Both of you could file on Medicare, get different supplement or Medicare Advantage plans, or if you're younger than 65, you don't have to stay with one specific company if you're not currently employed with that company. You can choose a couple of different options. Just realize it might be a more expensive option as well. So make sure that you consider those costs. Question number 3 is kind of an interesting one. What insurance changes do we expect in 2020? I'm going to answer this in 2 parts. First off is with Medicare. We are expecting an increase. Now, we don't know what that increase is, and Medicare isn't going to announce that until later on. It's not official yet, but NBC News reported that we're going to go from $135.50 a month up to potentially $144.30. That would be a 6% increase. That's the number that Congress is kicking around right now. So keep that in mind. That would be a pretty dramatic increase for those of you collecting Medicare. Another Medicare change that's happening here shortly is Plan F is going away. Unless you turn 65 prior to January 1st of 2020, Plan F will not be available to you anymore. You should talk with a Medicare specialist specifically to see how that applies. Jumping to the insurance side, one of the major changes that we're seeing is the max out-of-pocket is increasing. 2019, it's in the neighborhood of about $7,500 a month. It's jumping all the way up to around $8,100 or $8,200 a month, a pretty significant increase across the board. $600 or $700 of max out-of-pocket costs going out to you, so that's a pretty significant change. Keep your fingers on the pulse as well. A lot of these insurance companies are going to keep their changes very close to the vest. They're not going to share with them until January 1st. So make sure that you're talking to an insurance or a Medicare specialist to figure out specifically what's happening to you and how those changes might affect you. Now, the last, I'm going to defer here. The question says, how does this blend with Medicare? What TRICARE option is best? Where are the gaps and is a supplement needed? Now, TRICARE is a program specifically for members of the military. This is a little bit tricky. There are like 12 different TRICARE plans, everything from the more common one that we see, TRICARE for Life, to TRICARE for young individuals. I would suggest talk to a VA specialist who might know better. Make sure that you sit down and run through those options together, just because there are many different options. They're frequently changing. And quite frankly, that's not an area of our business that we focus in. So I'm sorry for the person that asked that question. I don't have a good answer. but make sure that you reach out either to the VA or to a TRICARE specialist who can guide you through the TRICARE maze as well. And specifically whether it applies to a Medicare supplement or anything else like that, take a look into that as well. Keep submitting your questions. Click the link below to be able to submit those questions. Stay tuned, and next week we'll have an additional OWA live segment. Thank you very much.